Welcome back to the Rick Smith Show. Now, here is Rick Smith.
So as we wrap up our coverage here at Netroots Nation, netrootsnation.org, the website, thrilled to see our good friend Randi Weingarten here on the final day. Randi is the president of the American Federation of Teachers, AFT. Randi, thanks for sitting down with us.
Of course.
So what brings you to Netroots Nation?
You know, it's the incredible activists. I was honored to, be asked to be part of it, and we need to also make sure that we can fund and this incredible group of progressive activists continue to get funded and continue to do the work that they do. And I'm glad to see Netroots Nation back in person in Pittsburgh. So I wanted to be here.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of great conferences. In fact, we were at your convention in Boston not too long ago.
Yep.
And this,
Love that.
Bringing people back together and the networking and the opportunities that come out of that
Right.
are so important in this moment.
And let me dwell on that for a second, because I think that that's really important in so many ways. It's complete bullshit when people say that, the unions didn't want people to be together, that the unions wanted people to be at home. We know the power of relationships and of community building and being together in person. And that's what creates trust, and that's what creates energy. So, the real key has been, how do you do this over the course of the pandemic? How do you make sure that you can be in person, in community with each other, and be safe?
Right.
That has always been the challenge. And what is remarkable about this summer, even as the variant, the Omicron variant has been, all over America, we have the treatment and the vaccine options now to keep people safe. So, whereas there may not be mandates right now, what we know is that there are tools right now to keep people safe. Masks, if you need it, vaccines, treatment options, and all of that is because of Joe Biden's administration, making sure that they could get it out to people. And I think that's why you see a huge difference this summer in all these in-person events of people coming back together.
No, it is important. I'm waiting for somebody to come out with the sticker. Joe Biden did that. Because we saw it, the gas pumps all over the place.
Right.
Now that it's coming down, you don't see them slapping that stupid sticker all over the place.
under $4 I saw it today.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, teachers, you in particular, attacked for wanting to keep people safe. It's almost like the kid who failed biology is and science is the one leading the messaging on the right, because if I remember right, it was about keeping kids and teachers safe, not about destroying education and indoctrinating children and all the other craziness we hear on the right.
Well, I think what has happened in terms of the right wing is that they understand, because they live in the world of anger and fear and hate, they have a sixth sense for what will exacerbate anger and agita and fear and divide. That's the world they live in. I live in the world of how you create hope and aspiration and a future forward. So what they saw, I think, and when you saw it, there was a Political article and a NBC article, I think back in February 2021, that said they were going to use this period of time to try to attack public schools as a means of dividing voters. So they, Rachel Maddow used to say this, believe them when they say it.
Yep.
They're arrogant enough to tell you what they're going to do. So they've always wanted to undermine public education and replace it with a privatized situation. Betsy DeVos has never been unclear about that. They now have taken this to the next step, which is divide, 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 make things worse, 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 create and keep people in their tribes, create and keep people in terms of grievance. So instead of being the party of hope and the party of problem solving, they are the party of division and hate and smear and fear. And that's what they did around COVID. So, you saw it in terms of last school year. All of a sudden you had this Delta virus emerge. And so the physicians, pediatricians said, oh my God, to keep everybody safe, we're going to wear masks. We're not the scientists. They are.
Right.
Okay, so we want to be in schools. They say you got to keep people wearing masks. So we're listening to the peds. They're telling us this. And then you see what the right wing did. Dividing parents, the mask police. The worst is, though, this whole push at chilling teachers from actually answering the questions of kids, from actually being kids' helpers. We're in Pittsburgh, Mr. Roger. We have to be kids' helpers. And so this attempt to ban books and censor curriculum, as opposed to if there are conflicts or issues or tough topics, where is it better to talk about them than in class, under the tutelage of a good teacher? So they're getting so bad, Rick, they're getting so extreme that now they're banning the Diary of Anne Frank and the story of Ruby Bridges.
Yeah, but Mein Kampf is still in some of the schools.
So, but think about, why would they ban the Diary of Anne Frank and the story of Ruby Bridges? I mean, why? These are age-appropriate books for elementary school kids. Why would they ban them? Because they don't want kids to have empathy for other kids who faced oppression. A black kid who faced oppression, a Jewish kid who faced oppression. This is all about trying to destroy trust, trying to create distrust, trying to create fear and division. And what public schools are about is we're about trying to help people build relationships, build resilience, create trust, have a joy about going to schools. So we're trying to actually say, let's recover and thrive and bring everybody back in and create safe and welcoming environments where kids really have joy and where we go back to the basics. This is our campaign right now, what kids and communities need. The right wing is fight, 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 divide, 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 create fear. And if you can't do it based upon facts on the ground, then make things up. Like what DeSantis just did this week. One of the most horrific things, he gets on to one of his press conferences, looks right at the camera and says, pathological liar, excuse me, says, well, teachers, they're trying to change children's sexes. It is a pathological lie. It is defamatory. How dare you do that? And then he says, that's what happens in other states. That's why we had to do what we did. How dare you do that? And, parents know better, like just in Ohio. Ohio, nonetheless, 91% of parents said their kids' teachers are a positive role model for their kids.
Right. But isn't this one of those moments where you go, my kid's wonderful, but yes, all of those other teachers are doing what he says, and we have to destroy public education? Because we got a guy running for governor in this state who not only wants to cut education funding in half, but also wants to do what the right wing's been dreaming about and give money to parents to homeschool.
Yeah, I mean, this is, they have, since Milton Friedman, since the Brown versus Board of Education decision, the right wing, the extremist elements of the right wing, because a whole bunch of Republicans that love their public schools, the extremist elements of the right wing have been trying to undermine education, take money out for private schools, take money out for for-profit, and just basically undermine it. I don't know whether they're afraid of it or whether they just want, the market to prevail or privatization. But the bottom line is what has been layered on that now is this level of fear and smear. And it does. It does create fear. It's nonsense. It's defamatory. But they can't win the old-fashioned way. They can't win on ideas because they have none. So what they're doing is just creating fear and exacerbating grievance and tribalism.
Yeah, and destroying.
Yeah, it's the way in which you and I have talked about this before, and I remember the last time we talked about it, they smeared me about talking about it. But this is what DeSantis is doing, is the autocratic playbook.
Absolutely. And he's a smart, look, he a lot of people think of him in the same vein as Trump, not very bright. This guy has, Ivy League credentials. This is no dummy.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what he's doing.
He's an elitist. He's from the Ivy League, and but he's deflecting in that kind of way because his wish for power overrides anything else.
And if it means tearing us apart and destroying public education, so much better for them, because that's the goal anyway, isn't it?
So, but I think it's deeper than that. I think it's what you have here in terms of this extremist group or of MAGA folks is that they're taking, like him or not, Trump. He created a cult following.
Yep.
All these new wannabes are trying to take that cult following away from Trump and make it their own. But what is at stake in their fight for power, their political fight for power, what's at stake is all of our freedoms, is our democracy, is the economic safety net we have right now, and children's futures in our schools. Because it's only through public schooling that any child really has a shot, where the government has to be accountable for making sure that that child at least gets reading, writing, arithmetic, and science and social studies. You don't get that. There's no accountability for that in homeschooling. There's no accountability for that in vouchers. And so what we in America believe as public school people is that we have an obligation to all kids, and that it takes resources, and that at this moment in time, after 2 years of disruption, we got to really focus on a couple of things. Help kids recover and thrive. Go back to the basics. Joy, emotional and social supports, but reading, science, pathways to their future. That's what we believe in.
Absolutely. Now, one of the other things I got to ask you, Randy, in looking at where we are, there's a lot of reports of teacher shortages, a lot of teachers leaving the profession because all of these arrows, all of these attacks, all of this heated rhetoric. How are we going to get to that place that you're talking about if the good people are leaving? Well,
part of the problem this year, and I'm glad it's been reported on, is that we've had a teacher shortage for a long time because people are not paid what they ought to be paid. There's what the Economic Policy Institute calls a teacher tax, that teachers are basically paid about 20 to 25% less than they can get for the same skills and knowledge in this hot market in non-teaching jobs. So, between long-term subpar compensation and long-term erosion of working conditions, which are students' learning conditions, and then on top of that, all of the effects of COVID, yet nothing was taken off their plate for the last school year. And then on top of that, all the blaming and shaming and fear-mongering, of course, it's a perfect storm. Of course there's a teacher shortage. But what we're seeing is this. Parents actually care about this. This is one of the major things parents care about. That's part of the reason why DeSantis had to actually say something about the teacher shortage. So what the AFD is doing is we're trying to problem solve it. And there are governors who have really helped us, like Governor Lujan Grisham. She came up with a really good plan this spring to help and raise teacher salaries, made it easier for people who retired to come back to substitute, did the Grow Your Own programs, which we need, which will help diversify the profession. Those, vets, that's part of the Grow Your Own program. That's part of the Troops to Teachers program that we've had for years that Donald Trump killed and then Joe Biden brought back. And so, we're trying to problem solve all of this stuff right now with districts and with states. But the best way to do it, and costs not a dime, RESPECT. Create a climate of respect, because teachers want to make a difference in the lives of kids. What other profession takes money out of their pocket routinely when they don't get paid enough to make sure their classrooms are okay?
I love my kids' teachers, every one of them. I respect them, and look, I know I couldn't do what they do, and I'm grateful for the work that they do, and I'm grateful for the work that you do. And it's always great that you take some time and sit down and talk with us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Thanks for everything you do.
As always, great stuff. Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers. Quick break back here in Pittsburgh for the Netroots Nation Conference. Right back.
The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.